free your mind.
We all remember The Matrix. It pushed boundaries, redefined the way directors thought about camera movement, and brought the cyberpunk aesthetic to the mainstream in the 1990s. And when it came time to come up with another big swing, no one expected the Wachowskis to be able to reinvent the wheel again, right? And yet, that's kind of what they tried to do, just not in the way anyone was asking for. Look, we can all be honest, The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions weren't amazing. There's cool ideas, interesting visuals, and some fun sociological metaphors to be had, but overall, they're just kinda underbaked. The thing that set the original film apart from the legions of other black trenchcoat would-be cyberpunk epics is that the Wachowskis imbued the story with depth. The movie was actually about something. The iconic bullet time was in service of a greater point, not just, look at the cool slow-mo, bro. The Matrix is more than just bullet time. Every visual choice made for the film took on a visual momentum of its own. Was it highly referential to the work that came before it? Yeah, but it evolved those references into something else. Was the original film influenced by Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, Ghost in the Shell, and Neuromancer? Absolutely, but the way it synthesized those references into something greater than the parts is what propelled it into being a classic. The sequels just didn't get the time to marinate like they needed. There's probably a great movie spread out between those two films, but Warner's wanted it to be a trilogy and they didn't want to wait a decade to get there, so they shot back-to-back sequels. You'd think that idea would be the thing the Wachowskis would zero in on as their big creative risk. Some inventive way to use the protracted shooting schedule or weird way to utilize an actor across two movies simultaneously, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all. The original movie had bullet time. The sequels, they had transmedia brand integration. I know, not as visually exciting, but honestly, it's kind of paved the way for modern Hollywood. The Matrix Reloaded, The Animatrix, and Enter the Matrix all debuted in 2003, and they were all set within the world established in the first film. 3 different artistic mediums telling one cohesive story. Up until that point, this had never been attempted. Sure, you had those things like the Star Wars Expanded Universe, or how Star Trek licensed their logo out to nearly any picture book or video game company from 1960 through 1990, but those weren't a closely orchestrated, finely woven tapestry of artistic intent. This was. Well, in theory. The Wachowskis wrote multiple entries into the anime shorts housed within the animated anthology film, and they oversaw the construction, writing, and directing of Enter the Matrix, a highly ambitious game that kinda doesn't live up to its own promise. The announcement of Enter the Matrix was met with curiosity and excitement. A game about the Matrix? With the Wachowskis involved. What could go wrong? The game was developed by Shiny Games and published by Infogrames through their Atari brand. This wasn't some low-budget borderline bootleg gaming tie-in for a run-of-the-mill summer blockbuster. These purely commercial outings rarely feature an inventive or inspired gameplay. They're just a series of bullet points that someone is trying to make sure gets hit. This was about as refined as you could get, relative to 2003 standards. The Wachowskis were involved, and even shot an hour and a half of new live-action footage that would be shown exclusively within the game.
To be honest, I do enjoy the taste of tears.
The story of Enter the Matrix follows a parallel narrative to Matrix Reloaded. We play as Jada Pinkett Smith's Niobe, or Anthony Brandon Wong's Ghost, as they're tasked with retrieving a message from inside the Matrix, delivering it to Zion, and then later taking on a seemingly impossible mission to destroy a power plant in order to assist in Morpheus and Neo's plan to stop the assault of the machines on Zion. If you're thinking to yourself, that sounds like all the stuff that those characters mention having done off-camera in the movie. You'd be right. That's basically what this game is. It's a series of fun, yet fairly repetitive action set pieces where you choose to play as either Niobe or Ghost as you fight agents, nameless goons, and run awkwardly through the city. No, for real, the running animation in the game is just on another level of weird. To add insult to injury, some of the cutscenes, as I mentioned before, are live-action sequences all shot on 35mm. They look great. The sound is a bit wonky in places, but the visuals look like deleted scenes from the movie. And then some of them are in-game engine footage, which has aged like absolute milk. It feels like the Wachowskis wanted everything to be live action, then either ran out of time or money or both.
Man, reality can be a bitch.
and just turned to a team of 3 animators sitting next to them in some office chairs and said, "Hey, can you guys come up with like 40 minutes of cutscenes in about 15 minutes?" The best thing about the game, though, well, it features loads and loads of 2003 era slow-mo graphics. I guess we just can't get enough bullet time. The Wachowskis knew what people were showing up for, and they delivered in the most 2003 way possible. The game actually features a mechanic where you can use your focus meter in order to slow down time, and it requires you to use this functionality at various points in order to get through some of the levels. While it's really fun initially, this mechanic eventually gets really old, largely because the controls just flat out suck. Into the Matrix is a great third leg on the proverbial multimedia concept project. Animation, live-action film, and a video game all telling one big interconnected story. The animation and live-action installments in this project do their jobs wonderfully. The issue at hand is that Into the Matrix feels more like a slow-mo bullet-dodging simulator than anything truly native to the medium of video games, and that fact stunts the potential of what this project could have been. This overly ambitious game could have been awesome. It could have expanded on 2 visually interesting characters that pop up in Reloaded, but it just doesn't. The game didn't take the task of building out the world of the Matrix or its characters seriously. It doesn't even really tell a standalone story. It took on the task of building out the plot of Reloaded, and that's not how you make a great game. It's basically just a series of moderately fun deleted scenes that you can play through. But that doesn't mean that the attempt at making a story transcend artistic mediums and releasing them simultaneously isn't a noble one, or even one that hasn't been influential. Watchmen tried this exact approach just a few short years later. Star Wars had experimented with this approach, even early efforts in the MCU tried their hand at it. If anything, it's a major achievement that they actually finished all 3 of these projects. The idea of putting out all of these offerings within a couple-month time span feels like something that would be subject of a deep dive YouTube video. Can you believe they almost did this? But no, it's what actually happened. And that's the reason why no one really talks about Into the Matrix. Because at the end of the day, it's less a truly inventive installment in the Matrix franchise that maximizes the possibilities of the medium of video games, and instead ultimately lands somewhere in that bizarre chasm colloquially known as checking the box. Enter the Matrix exists because the Wachowskis wanted to release a video game, animated movie, and live-action movie all within a month of each other. Not because anyone had a truly great idea for a game set in the Matrix. Say what you will about Max Payne, but at least that game was genuinely fun, and people still talk about it. If I hadn't said Ghost's name at the top of this video, would you have even been able to tell me it? How many members of the Star Wars Cantina can you name? See, that's what I'm saying. Ghost is the co-star of an expensive video game and a supporting character in the world of the Matrix, and I had to look up his character's name to write this video. The reason Enter the Matrix is fascinating as a concept and lackluster as a game is because it's just that. It's a sci-fi. It's a game in the shape of a game. Not a piece of story that someone was passionate and obsessed about that they used the medium of video games to expel from their mind. And that's a truly great shame. Much like this weird-ass running animation. And well, that's all we have for this episode of Nerdstalgic Gaming. What do you think about Enter the Matrix? You remember how bad the agent's AI was? Like, those dudes were not fearsome enemies of humanity clad in black suits. Those dudes were human dumbos who would routinely bug out and just walk into a wall for 40 minutes. You remember that? If so, comment below, and as always, please like and subscribe for more videos just like this one.